such a big room, you know?
COVID's over, we're allowed to, no, just kidding.
Yeah, well, you know, we accomplished with the PAC meeting.
Yeah,
Which ends at 10, so there's a will we have enough time to get in there and set up?
Come on up, Shiva, if I may pose. I feel lonely up here. I mean, I got Sarah, but.
You need a copy of the agenda and everything?
I do.
I'm ready when you guys are. We want to put it, are we going up on?
Yes. Yeah, so,
Do not disturb.
We live?
yes.
Okay, great. Good morning. Today is May 18th, 2023, and the time is 10:01. My name is David Merriman. I'm going to open up the Cuyahoga County Equity Commission meeting for this month. Welcome all that are here in attendance. We have some new members that have joined us, and so I'd like to just begin with a call to order. We'll begin, I think, first with a roll call. So around the room, I'll ask each commission member to introduce themselves. Turn to my left.
Good morning, I'm Jill Smilik. I'm Deputy Director for Public Safety and Justice Services.
All right, so going around the table from my right.
Lenore Lockett, Department of Equity and Inclusion.
Okay, Paul Herdig, Director of Development.
Sarah Nemistel, Director of Human Resources.
I'm Dawn Calvini. I'm with Communications Department.
And we're joined by Shiva Marshall as well, also from HR. And then Lenore, I think you have two staff here that are joining us today as well. Could I ask them to introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm LaQuisha Lyons. I'm from the Department of Equity and Inclusion. I am Cassandra Fulton, Department of Equity and Inclusion.
Wonderful. So we have a quorum. We're going to just begin. We'll first do a review and approval of the minutes. The minutes have been posted. Are there any revisions or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second? I'll second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment, is anyone from the public signed in today? Hearing none, we're going to move on to opening remarks. I think before I open up for remarks from others around the table, I think it's important for us to recognize the recent staff change and the announcement that Shiva Marshall is, I think, going to be making a formal announcement publicly. I hope I'm not ahead of that.
That's okay.
Okay, and so Shiva, who served on this commission with us for several years, has provided much great input and leadership, is moving on from Cuyahoga County. And first I want to take a moment to thank you, Shiva, for your service, for your work with us through, I think, a very difficult time. I want to thank you for all that you've contributed. And I'd like to just see if you have a second, if you'd like to share anything about your transition.
Oh, well, I'm going to be going to Kent State as an executive director over their benefits and wellness programs. And I'm just very excited about that. It's a new opportunity. It's back to where I was before this position, so it's like going back home. But I really enjoyed working on this commission. I really enjoyed my time here at the county, and I am really grateful for the opportunities that I got to participate in, get to know a whole lot of you a whole lot better.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time and for your service, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're here.
We do have the expectation that each commission member can do opening remarks, and because we have a new commission member, I'd like to go ahead and invite you, Sarah, to kick us off. Any opening remarks that you'd like to share?
Good morning, my name is Sarah Nemistel. I was recently confirmed as the Director of Human Resources, Chief HR Officer. I am really excited to be a member of this commission and look forward to working with each of you and echo David's sentiments about Shiva. Shiva's wonderful and we will miss her very much at the county, and I'm grateful to her for all that she has done for us over the past couple of years, and wish you well in your new endeavors.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Paul, any opening remarks?
I do. First of all, let me note that normally Vaughn Johnson represents me here. Vaughn is off-site this morning, and because Vaughn and I do sit next to each other and talk frequently, I'm actually able to give the update as well. Many of these items I will note reflect Vaughn's work, but not all of them. So the first thing I want to note is that we did hold our semi-annual Capital Partners meeting. This is a well-attended meeting. We actually held it in person this time and had, great turnout down in council chambers. We received updates from some of the most significant nonprofit partners that serve small businesses, especially with an emphasis on minority-owned small businesses. And one update I'd like to share is that with county financial support over the past year and a couple months, our partners have served about 3,000 small businesses, including women-owned, minority-owned, a very significant number of that, with technical assistance, funding, and other services. So we do have some great partners that we work with. There are some new programs coming along. I am hoping that at a future session of this group, we can actually have some agenda time and give some more specific updates on this, because we're very proud of the work that they do. One of the things that happened at the Capital Partners meeting is the executive welcomed, and as part of his remarks, noted that he is intending to form an Office of Small Business. This is very significant. We briefed the executive internally, gained his support. It will be housed in the Department of Development, and we anticipate that it will be under the direction of Vaughn as our Deputy Director. We are hopeful. We are working towards being able to engage an additional staff resource for that office. We're working through that process. This will be meant not to duplicate the work that any of our great partners are doing, but to be a connector for internal services, external partner services, working with Vaughn and myself. The new person will be able to help us identify any gaps in the ecosystem. This office will be a voice and a champion in county government and publicly for small business needs, and also will interface with procurement, diversity, with equity, Lenora, on county level procurement opportunities. So we're very excited that this is coming along. Second announcement that we made at the Capital Partners meeting is that we do have out on the street now a request for qualifications, an RFQ, to continue county funding for small business supports. We are a little over halfway through the first 2-year period. We provided $3 million for the first 2-year period, and the RFQ states will look to provide another $3 million for the next 2 years. We are allowing ample time for responding to and processing and contracting and approvals, with the target date for this next round of funding to kick in March of 2024. We believe we can accomplish all the procurements and approvals by that time. We will continue to focus on funding and access to capital. So once again, the funding we offer will be not only for staff costs, but also for capital to be relent or in some cases invested in small businesses. And that currently is out on the street, open through June 30th. What else? Vaughn was a panelist at a President's Council MBA panel series on doing business with government. And something that we're excited about is we've been able to confirm with a very major healthcare provider. I guess we're not supposed to say the name out loud, but a very, very major healthcare provider. There will be, in October of this year, a How to Do Business with X meeting, which I'm sure will draw a great deal of interest once it's publicly announced. This organization has over $1.5 billion of supplier needs over the next 3 years. So we're excited that we will be actually the driving force in that How to Do Business With event in October. That's all I have.
Thanks, Paul. Any questions for Paul? Lenora?
Thank you. I'll be brief because I got the information I'm going to provide further isn't on the agenda. But we're in the process now of updating the purchasing and contracting forecast. That is our information that we provide to the public about what the county plans to purchase over the next 24-month period. We update the forecast on by January 1st and July 1st of each year. So we're looking to post that by July 1st of this year. And it's a compilation of all the purchases planned by county departments and agencies for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. So we're excited about that.
Great. Questions for Lenore? Just a few opening remarks for me. So I first want to just take a second and acknowledge some recent policy changes that have had, I think, a significant impact in the community. And I share this here because, I think there's there's disproportionate representation of minorities within Cuyahoga County using public assistance. Recently, we made the decision to change our call center structure that I think has had some very positive impact. Historically, our call centers or contact center was open from 8 in the morning till 4 o'clock at night. It still is open from 8 in the morning until 4 o'clock at night. But we've decided to not allow the new application and the other sort of application queues to remain open after 1 o'clock. And we share that to say that there were times where we have peak volume where some of our residents were calling us, they were getting on hold, even though we have an auto callback feature that could take hours. And if you called at 3 o'clock and there was no chance that your call was going to go through, it led to great frustration. And so we've made this shift so that we are taking new calls between the hours of 8 and 1. And in that way, we're telling the public to ensure they call between then, and then can always say that we're going to get to your call that day, and that we're able to complete any calls that are in the queue. And in the time since we've made this change, we've seen our answer rate increase dramatically every single day. Our wait times are down dramatically, and hopefully our customer experience is improving. I think this, to me, is an important equity issue because it really does undermine or establish trust with the community that when you call us, we will answer your call. And when you have a need, we're there to support you in your need. And that our residents' time and energy is not wasted waiting on a call that's not going to be returned. So that's a change we've made. It's a couple weeks old. We're still working on it. Early indicators are we're actually improving our standing in the state and hopefully doing a better job by our residents. Second announcement is the Division of Children and Family Services is going to be hosting a Pride event in celebration of Cleveland Pride next month. And we will be walking in the Pride Parade. And there may be opportunities for staff that want to join us and walk with DCFS. This is another area where there's overrepresentation of children that have identified as LGBTQT+. And so we do a very, very concerted effort of doing outreach engagement of LGBTQ foster parents, respite homes, staff, so that our staff are able to represent the needs of those children. And so we'll be walking in Pride, and if anyone from the county would like to join us, I think there's opportunities for non-DHHS staff to join us. So those are my questions, my announcements. Any questions? All right, I'll turn to Jill. Jill, any opening remarks?
Sure, yeah. So Public Safety and Justice Services, we've been trying to get together as a committee, an internal committee, for a couple of months now, and we were finally able to do so in April. And the group just had a really good, really creative conversation about how to improve the DEI picture in PSJS, in Public Safety and Justice Services. So we talked about a few ideas. Number one is that this group wants to do a focus group with their colleagues and their peers, just to have sort of some one-on-one dialogue about what are you seeing, what's bothering you, what do you think we can improve on. And then they discussed just the need for more inclusion with professional development opportunities. Our department has not great diversity in terms of leadership. And so we were thinking that if we offer additional professional development opportunities to all employees, that we would increase our pool of really even better qualified applicants coming from internally within our department. We also discussed the need to encourage all supervisors to meet one-on-one with their employees so that employees feel included, they feel seen, they feel like their individual needs are recognized and heard. So I think those are really good efforts. We also talked programmatically about enhancing outreach efforts in areas that tend to be higher need. So our services that may impact a police department or a fire department or an individual victim of crime, making sure that we're really getting the word out in the communities that have the highest need, which also, as David has said, tend to have disproportionate representation of people of color. And then they also talked about some really great sort of softer ideas, just kind of employee engagement and morale. So recognition of cultural holidays like Juneteenth, making sure people understand what Juneteenth is and why we don't come to work that day. Doing something for Pride Week, like HHS is talking about. They were thinking about ways to display the work of diverse artists and making sure that that representation is clear to people who come in from the outside. That it's not just us internally who know that we have a commitment to it, but some sort of visual representation to make sure that members of the community see it as well. And I think that's about it for now. So we'll see how that shapes up. We're going to prioritize at our next meeting and hopefully get some activities underway over the summer.
Great. Any questions for Jill? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the next item, which is the Equity Commission duties. Lenore?
Hi, good afternoon. As you know, I'm always a per this, a per that, just the engineer background in me. But as we go on, I guess, what is this, our third full year of having regular meetings at the Equity Commission? I wanted to, as a group, reacquaint ourselves with the actual county code requirements for the Equity Commissions. The county code, I think I provided a copy with each of you with the, if anyone in the public wonders why were the certain directors, that's because the county code explicitly details which directors under the county organizational chart are to be members of this organization. It also instills the code requirements. A couple of them are the annual report, and that we're the face and leadership of pushing and advocating for diversity and equity within Cuyahoga County operations. In addition, starting with encouraging the collection of data so that we can make sure that our strategies are based on information and data that's gathered that's pertinent to our mission and goals. And today it was just mainly to re-highlight that as we have changes in leadership, and also for further discussions about if there's any specific actions that we as a body are contemplating that are within these duties that we would like to champion as a group.
Lenore, I actually appreciate you bringing this up. I think it is timely, and we've been going now a couple years. We've had transitions, and it's probably worthwhile that we do spend some time on this issue. I don't know if we want to do that today or just have folks take a look at it and really start to think about, so where are we going?
Right.
You know, we've got a good couple cycles in, and it is we're moving through this first half of the new administration, and increasingly becomes an opportunity for them to lay out a framework and a direction.
Right.
Expecting we'll hear and see much more of that as they work through a lot of their critical decisions. And as I look at this, I think the only thing I'm left kind of wondering is, do you feel like in terms of the duties, everything that we're doing, we're kind of meeting our obligations, and whether or not we're meeting them and exceeding them, I think should probably be discussed. But anything in your experience, you feel like we're not meeting our obligations at this point?
What I would say is I believe that as far as a unified implementation of like collecting the baseline data, as we've all presented in our opening comments, everyone is demonstrating their focus within their arena of trying to move the needle and apply that equity lens to their operations. But I think we're also supposed to serve as that for our colleagues on how we're the model and also pushing that agenda with our colleagues also.
Yeah.
I think we have the constant, because we meet every other month, of not saying that it's not part of departments embracing of equity and inclusion, but it's more on the surface for us because we have a public meeting every other month that we're discussing. A lot of departments, as we know, it's already May. And we did the report in January, and now we're coming up on the next annual equity report. And if we can maybe find a way that we can push or encourage or keep that also highlighted with our peers who are not on the public commission, but still have the same requirements to be embedding equity and inclusion in their operations.
So I have a thought on this. We expect sometime before State of the County, we're going to have an announcement of a Chief of Integrated Development. And there will be then coordinated work among development, the new Department of Housing and Community Development, our Planning Commission, which isn't even strictly under the executive, Public Works, Transportation, and Sustainability. I hope not forget anyone. And within that list of entities I just named, only development is right here on the commission. So I feel it's my responsibility, once we get our new chief and start getting the new cluster, I think it's going to be called organized, to elevate within that equity work. So I don't know yet the form that'll take. It may be like a meeting or a briefing of some kind, but I think that's one like spoke of a wheel that we see going on here.
I agree. I think that's a great opportunity. And I think it's more about, as you're stating, just keep elevating it to our peers as we have the consistent reminder. While they're doing their operations, as we know, there's always a lot going on, a lot of programs, policies, procedures being implemented. And we don't want it to become an afterthought because you're so embedded in getting the actual new program or policies, that we can help our colleagues in some way of keeping it elevated so that as they're developing their programs and policies, that equity lens component is still there on their shoulder, saying, don't forget about it. Keep the passion going on.
I think that's a really important point, and we've had some great discussion in my senior leadership team meetings about both ensuring that we continue to collect that baseline data and fill out the templates to be able to produce the report, while at the same time being responsive, working outside of a baseline data set, continuing to push for other changes, respond to our funders. And I think there is inherent tension in that, which is, if our design is really to collect the data and produce the report, is that going to take priority and precedent over us being sort of iterative and responsive and innovative, really trying to, I think, grab the passion, grab the staff feel for this issue, also respond with urgency to the problems of the issue. And I can say in our team, we've had some really active discussion about this. Where do you find that balance? Can you be 50-50?
Right.
And I think a great example is Melissa Serac when she produced her strategic action plan to end homelessness through housing with equitable through equitable pathways to housing. Equity is embedded in her 5-year strategic plan, and in many ways it reflects on what the federal government has laid out for its strategic plan. Right. And at the same time, I don't think it shows up in the baseline because it's new and it's responsive to the federal government. So I see a balance here and a tension in some ways between achieving our report and also working in a much more responsive, organic fashion. And I think we've got some work this year to try to balance those two things and take another look at how to do both.
Yes. And that's a lot of times when you're embedding and making your changes to be systemic, you may not have the external result.
Yeah.
To show in the current years, even though the work is being done this year, initiated, to set up a foundation that'll be producing that results years forward. You still need to find a balance on documenting and doing the work today, keeping progress and results going today, but also setting yourself up for continued positive trajectory on equity.
Great. Other questions for Lenora on the commission duties?
Yeah, I have another comment. Sorry, different. I have two other comments, actually. Number one, this very afternoon at Cabinet, Catherine's going to talk about going around to meet with departments to kind of update whatever it's called now, Cuyahoga Performance, the performance measurement. And it's really important to me as a former data nerd that we stay in sync. So I think it's our responsibility as the Equity Commission to advocate for the performance data collection to be done in such a way it meshes with the data we're trying to collect.
Good point, definitely.
All right. Okay, and my second point is we've also got the obligation to coordinate with CACE. And I have to admit, I've lost a little bit of touch with CACE and where it's going. I know that, Chief Byrd was one of the key people in that. Now she's back to Clerk of Courts Byrd. But, I believe that it's important for us to keep in touch. And Lenora, because I don't come to every meeting, I don't know what your schedule is, but I'm assuming we have some kind of schedule for keeping in touch with them.
Yes, so, you've been at several case meetings also. But as the standard on the standard agenda for Citizens Advisory Council, it includes Department of Equity and Inclusion, and I would give an update on the Equity Commission and the Department of Equity and Inclusion. And then HR was on the agenda standard, providing an update. And HHS, I know you've been there several times for meetings. But as you stated, we could have, not that it has to be decided today, but they're moving to a quarterly meeting.
Okay.
But also we might want to have a discussion, is there, outside of giving updates at the meetings, is there an avenue for continued coordination? I remember early on, we were having, monthly meetings we were having with Clerk Byrd, and Equity Commission. It was like I can't remember the rotation or the frequency, David, that we were meeting with them.
That's right.
So that is a good avenue. Besides us giving an update, is there opportunity for further coordination that can help?
Well, I think I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
No, I agree.
I think it's important because we're like the internal team.
Yes.
For us to make sure we're informed on what direction CAC is going.
Yes.
So we can advise the executive if we need to and, try to make sure we align our work with where CAC is going.
I agree. Maybe we can, I can mention that to Tia Adams. I'll email it, and I believe Clerk Byrd is still doing, even back in that role, continuing that component about, is there an opportunity for to restart our meetings and see what further collaborations to make sure, as you stated, that there's still, while there's still external and internal focus, that there's still maximizing our collaborations, how we can reinforce each other.
Yeah, I support that. Let me know if there's a role. I know much work is done in our department. We're always happy to step up and kind of illustrate practical or tangible programs or changes that are in place. If that gives us something to kind of ground the discussion in. If we need to have just more of a sort of contextual conversation, I'm also happy to join in that. Any other questions for Lenora on the duties? Okay, so we're going to move now to the next agenda item, the Mid-Year Equity Summit.
Thank you again. As part of the last year's training that was provided by Tri-C, there was coaching sessions between 5 pairs. And the coaching sessions were provided by Dr. Marlon Moore as part of that team. One of the recommendations that came out of the coaching session was that we should do, he recommended a mid-year equity summit as, again, a mid-year checkpoint on our progress for that current year with advancing equity and embedded in it in our operations. The other opportunity or benefit of having that mid-year equity summit is that you're meeting with your peers and there's an opportunity to share. Even though each entity has their mission, there still is an opportunity to learn from what your peers or colleagues are doing, that you might be able to replicate something similar in your area, and or if you've overcome a hurdle or an obstacle that was hindering progress or, in your area, you might hear from a colleague what they have done that also could be replicated in your area. So it's an opportunity to learn from each other, and the also to keep it in the forefront. It's mid-year. There's time flies. Let's make sure that we fulfilling our commitments that we made at the beginning of the year, what we're gonna do for, and within our respective areas. So this year's Mid-Year Equity Summit is going to be, the first one, Thursday, June 15th. You should have received the invitation earlier this week. It's in person. It's a half day, 8:30 to noon. It's intended to be interactive with all of us discussing and sharing. It's gonna be minimal one person, Lenora, talking, or anyone talking. The county executive has agreed to do the welcome for the event. And also, we're looking to make sure, we know that it's our first year, and the invitations just went out this week, so it's only a month lead time, and it's the busy summer months. But we're looking to at least have representation from top leadership in every department. So even if the director who's preferred is not there, at least deputy directors of that area could provide. Because it's an opportunity for us to, again, share best practices, lessons learned, motivate each other, provide, and even just rejuvenate the fact that you think you're working in your silo, I'm not making the progress I expected to make. I'm dealing with balance of staff, vacancies, mandates, just fires that within your own operations. How can I also balance and embed some best practices in how we're doing our policies and programs? So that's June 15th, 8:30 to 9 at the Harvard Road facility. Free parking. It's centrally located, and it's very nice facility that we're maximizing our utilization for a lot of our programs.
So, Lenore, I know that DHHS is actually we have our major union negotiations scheduled for that day.
Okay.
So a number of us are kind of scheduled for that, but we'll make arrangements so that if kind of the principals from our departments are not available, we can ensure that someone from leadership from the various departments will be present. Might be a bit of a hodgepodge from DHHS. Sorry, we had already scheduled the negotiation.
Yeah, we were working on the dates. That's another reason why we're hoping to have a save the date for earlier we know that the schedules of everyone is very hectic. Thank you.
Any other questions for Lenora on the summit? All right, so we're moving through. We're moving on to County Pitch Day event.
Again, this is another initiative. This audience, the target audience for this is businesses, especially small businesses, minority business, and women businesses. It's a pitch day. As far as the pitch day component is that we want county procurement personnel, the people that make the actual selections and do the evaluations, available. Again, it'll be July 13th, 9 a.m. to noon, so the morning session. We want the county procurement staff from each department that has procurements planned with the forecast that will come out July 1st. So we're timing it with the July 1st posting of the upcoming purchasing and contracting forecast. And that's why we're trying to closely follow that. We skipped the first week in July because of the obvious holiday. So we wanted to follow it in the second week and have the procurement staff there from each agency so that vendors who can review the forecast, or if they've never done business with the county, and even if they can come to this and meet the county procurement personnel and have an opportunity to actually give a brief overview of their qualifications and the quality of the goods and services that they provide. Hopefully in strategy with the goods and services that the county is planning to provide. That's the pitch day component. We're also, as part of that, providing what we're calling a fair or basic face-to-face, hands-on assistance to businesses with several components of our how to do business process. How do you get registered in the Infor system? We're going to have people there that can help them do the registration. We're looking at how, once you're registered, then how do you look on the county website or find opportunities? Where do you search to find current bid opportunities? Secondly, we're looking at people that can answer questions about the forms that you must submit with the county. again, so we're hoping that depending upon where a vendor is in their stage in the process, maybe they are already a county certified SBE. If they're not, and they believe that they can be certified, they can go to that station and get assistance. Maybe they're in N4, they've already registered in N4, but they don't know, how do I find, where do I find these opportunities? What emails, what does the email looks like when I receive an opportunity? Also, now that I'm ready to submit a bid or proposal, there's 10 forms at the county. What does a completed form look like? What is this form? What's the longevity? Because some of those forms, they can load up in their registration so that it's already ready for them to submit proposals. So again, we're looking at the pitch day component where they can meet procurement staff and also provide a summary of their services, but then also get face-to-face help on particular components of the process.
This sounds wonderful. Is there marketing materials available on it yet, or is
We're hoping to have it by next week.
Okay, great. I have 3 organizations or individuals that have recently approached me. I think they're great candidates for this, small, medium, and somewhat aspirationally large. And I just look forward to sending this out. Certainly our Health and Human Service Community Engagement team, our resources and assets to you on this. Any assistance we could provide to push this out through our network, please just let us know.
Thank you, definitely. We can send, when we have it, the information, the flyer, we'll send it out to you all. So, because obviously you all have each department or agency has more interaction with vendors than we do. And so it's definitely we want to leverage that opportunities, and we've already met with communications about how to try to leverage any of the marketing avenues that the county has.
Love it. Sounds like a best practice.
Yeah.
Is it going to be video? Is there any elements of it that can be video?
I think I have to reach out to video. We are hoping to have this as a kickoff for our How to Do Business with the County. We've been perusing websites, GCRTA, the state of Ohio, GCP, to figure out or maybe steal components of each of those formats that they use to have an ongoing resource for vendors where they can, and we're trying to keep the videos or whatever resource we use as small. We're trying to keep it in what we're calling digestible chunks or nuggets, so that it's not a 2-hour video. Because if you're already registered, you just want to know how to update your N4 contact person, or you're ready but you want to know the form. So we're looking at having something to that point, if not recorded at the meeting, because that's going to be more hands-on with each vendor.
Yeah.
But having that as a kickoff for our program on providing that ongoing resource.
Well, one of the individuals that reached out to me was actually a young person who's looking to establish marketing, like a marketing organization. And, but I'm also realizing in some ways could be an opportunity for someone like her to have their session recorded that would actually show how these go to let a future person. And she's a great communicator. So but then there also becomes an opportunity for her to promote her own organization. So there is, there's a bit of a play here. So I want to work on this with my leadership team, talking about how we can support it, because it really sounds like it's going to fill a gap. I know we talked last month about how we respond when the community approaches us, and having a package, having some past materials to put in front of them, I think is going to be really helpful. Other questions for Lenore on this issue? Moving through our agenda, I want to just pause and acknowledge, Lenore, I think you've given us all the content in today's agenda. I appreciate that, all the work that you're doing. I'd like to offer that if at a future meeting, I know Paul has talked about a new leadership position that's changing. This plan that Melissa Sirak in the Office of Homeless Service and our Continuum of Care has developed, I think is another content opportunity. I want to talk about how we're actually tactically moving into implementing some of these policy changes. I would say we're available to share the content workload, and if that's a benefit, you can keep talking about that.
Well, as far as also agendas, I don't know what's the best way. Do you want me to follow up with each?
think that'd be great.
Paul and figure out which dates we,
I'm sorry.
and you, so I think those, I know, remember last year we had where the ARPA funds for each department that was using the ARPA funds came and provided, a brief overview of their projects and how it had the equity lens, and I thought that was, awesome. So I think similarly, having content from, like, what Paul mentioned, and also the equity lens that you're talking about with Ms. Surratt.
Yep.
I can't speak today, sorry.
So if you send the email, I'll send it to Melissa, and we'll get working on scheduling it, if not at the next session, the following one. But I think, again, I think you're showing the work you're doing. We also have to show the work we're doing, and in greater detail. So yeah, if you send an email, I'll connect with Melissa, and we'll just start looking at dates.
Okay, definitely. And I'll do the same with Paul. And anyone else that has an idea, obviously it's our commission.
Yeah.
Or a good topic or area that we can focus on. Get the information to the public about our equity efforts at the county.
I think we're to our next item, closing remarks. I think I started across the table this time. I'll turn to my left. Jill, any closing remarks?
No, I think this is great, the Mid-Year Equity Summit. I got the notice for it, but didn't quite have my head around what was expected for that day. So I think that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to that event. So thank you.
I've talked enough.
Just finally, I would say with Juneteenth coming up, if people are aware of any events where having small business support representatives would be a good idea, please let me and Vaughn know. We have a network. We can leverage that network to try to get folks out to events that may be helpful to those attending.
And thank you again. I'm excited to work with this committee and looking forward to working with all of you. In the Mid-Year Equity Summit, that sounds great. And I don't know if Shiva wants to add any closing remarks.
So before I go, I'll just turn to our guests, Dawn, Cassandra, and is it Lakeisha? Lakeisha. Any closing remarks?
One of my thoughts as I was listening to you talk, Lenora, about the duties and the various things that the commission tries to do in keeping other departments, you have specific departments through your charter who are on the commission, but maybe having a regular invitation to a department that's not on the panel to maybe update them. So it would, for that group, kind of have them focus on how they're using their equity lens in the work that they're doing. It would inform what you all are talking about, and it might, just give them that boost and reminder about the work that the report they're going to have to put together for the equity annual report. And it was just a thought, but I didn't know, I'm pretty new to coming to these meetings, how often you invited other departments to come and maybe present.
That's a great idea. I do want to borrow from Paul's playbook in his offering, the small business team. We also have a group called the Comment Team that does eligibility applications from community events. So in the same way Paul's team can go out and talk with small businesses, our staff can go out with laptops and actually walk people through a SNAP application at a community event. And this is not a walkthrough of a hypothetical. It's actually completing a SNAP or a Medicaid application. Not always get all the way through it if there's missing documentation, but in some cases we're reestablishing and we are getting it all the way soup to nuts completed in those sessions. So I'm glad you brought that up. It reminded me as I led this meeting with a discussion about our shifts and our contact center hours, we're also trying to balance that by going out into the community more. And I would just say that's, I think, the expectation of this commission is that we're considering changes that have to be made for us to be effective, but also balancing that with how we better serve the community and their needs. And unless there's any other closing remarks, I think we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Great. David, are we doing this afternoon? It was our bi-weekly. But Kevin's in Columbus.